What up, what up, what up? Back at it again. Real Fans Podcast. I'm your boy Gabe right here. I'm posting up from my Miami Heat. We're in the middle of the NBA season. That's my boy Julian. Julian said what's up to the people.
What's up, people? What's up, people?
How have you been, man? This shit is going crazy right now. We're in the middle of summer, end of the NFL, but the NFL never stops. They always make news, even when they're not games being played. We're always still making news. So NFL heavy today. We're going to get into all the transactions. I was just on Twitter trying to update, see what Shefty's talking about.
Dude, I feel like this free agency has been absolutely wild so far in the first few hours. It's honestly been like pretty insane. Compared to last year, there's way more shit going on. I don't know if you feel that way, but
it's almost hard to follow. I'm just trying to, usually I just stick with my team and then wherever the piece is made. But there are some big names out there that have transpired, some big transactions going on. So I guess we'll talk about the biggest one. I guess everybody was talking about, quarterback is the biggest position, the most important position on the field. Kirk Cousins signing with Atlanta. Was it? Wait, let me try and think. Oh yeah.
Yes.
Oh no, it's a. Hold on, no, wait. Is it a trade or is it a signing? I forget. No, Kirk Cousins was a free agent, right?
Kirk Cousins, I believe, was a free agent. Let me get the details.
I think he was a free agent.
But go into your thoughts on this move. I'll look up the details on it.
Well, according to Adam Schefter, compensation for Kirk Cousins is going to be 4-year, $180 million with $100 guaranteed, which is insane. So it's going to be Kirk Cousins, Bijan Robinson, Drake London, and Kyle Pitts as their starters. I'm pretty sure he was a free agent. It was just hard because I'm following. People are giving up compensation. We'll talk about that later, but $100 million guaranteed. So Julian, I go into Kirk Cousins. I mean, this is probably gonna be is this the biggest acquisition of as far as quarterback goes for the offseason so far? You think?
As far as quarterback goes, I mean, as of right now, I mean, you only kind of have two big hitters, which is, well, I guess three if you want to throw in Mac Jones, but really two, which is Kirk Cousins going to Atlanta and Russell Wilson going to the Steelers. I would say the Kirk Cousins one, I don't know if I was surprised because he kind of felt towards the end of his time in Minnesota that it was like, all right, maybe Kirk Cousins isn't there enough to get us over that hump. I mean, they've made it to the playoffs multiple years in a row, or not multiple years in a row, but a few times in his career there. And he always felt like he wasn't enough, especially in the big games. I mean, it was always known that he never shows up in the primetime games. He never shows up in the playoffs. It's just one of those guys. He's a regular season guy who just puts up mad stats. And I always like Kirk Cousins, and I think he's a solid quarterback. But I feel like this is coming to a close for him. I think he's going to start in Atlanta for a few years, but I don't know if Atlanta truly sees him as a long-term solution. I mean, the money says otherwise, obviously, but I just have this weird feeling that he's going to go to Atlanta, probably play a year there. Then next year, maybe Atlanta drafts somebody, have him sit behind Kirk Cousins, kind of do like a Aaron Rodgers, Jordan Love thing, and just have somebody sit behind Kirk for a while. I think that's the best route for Atlanta long term because I don't know. Because Atlanta's in that rebuilding phase, obviously. They're kind of like midway through that rebuilding phase. They're on track. And I think for Atlanta to really get the most out of that team, they need to have a sustainable quarterback who's going to do something because Desmond Ridder was absolutely awful. And the whole other quarterback carousel that they had going over there was just so bad. And I think bringing in Kirk Cousins is going to bring a little stability. You can see where the weak spots are because sometimes when you have a bad quarterback, it's hard to tell where the other weak spots are. So I think bringing in a stable guy who's going to manage the game, do well, you can kind of pinpoint the other weak areas. And then meanwhile, you draft a guy, have him learn behind them, understand the ropes, and slowly build something. I like what they're doing over there in Atlanta. I think they're doing a good job. They're slowly but quietly adding pieces to that team. And I think they should be a contender for the division next year, in my opinion. I mean, it's not like it's the most difficult division in the world. I mean, the top tier team is going to be the Bucks, but Bucks are beatable. So, yeah, what do you think?
Oh, well, yeah, I was going to say it because I completely forgot. I just had to update the show notes because I forgot about, this is coming on the heels. Kirk Cousins signed with Atlanta's come on the heels of Baker Mayfield's deal, 3-year, $100 million with like $50 million guaranteed. So obviously, I think the NFC South as a division is pretty weak. I was surprised when the Bucks decided they're going to re-sign 3 years with Baker Mayfield. I'm thinking Baker Mayfield's at the tail end of his career. So him signing that deal was pretty shocking. But I think Kirk Cousins is probably going to end up being the big acquisition. He's probably the biggest fish, biggest whale in the pond, I guess, as far as quarterback acquisitions, unless there's some kind of crazy trade that's going to happen. So yeah, I think the NFC South is pretty wide open. If you had to give me a choice between Baker Mayfield and Kirk Cousins, I'll take Kirk Cousins right now. So we'll see. I don't know if they're a quarterback away. I think they're it sounds pretty good on paper. The acquisition of Kirk, but they haven't really, I'm trying to think of Kyle Pitts. He was very high in the draft. The Dolphins were considering picking him up, but he hasn't really amounted to anything. I know the guy is big and he's strong, but he really hasn't really been that productive in my eyes. I haven't heard a lot from him, but you have a young guy like Bijan Robinson. I mean, it should be interesting to watch. I'll say that. I'll see. I want to see how they do that first couple weeks. See how that offense turns out. But I think it's a great acquisition for Atlanta, who haven't done anything since the Patriots 28 the Patriots Super Bowl 28 whatever 3 loss that they had.
Yeah, I agree. Like you said, it's one of those things. As I was kind of thinking about it when I saw it, I was like, it's not a bad idea just to go after a guy just to see what else, because it's hard to evaluate the rest of the team if like your main guy, the quarterback, is like so bad. Like you don't know how good your receivers really are. You don't know how good your line really is. You don't know, like outside of the defense, obviously that's going to be its own beast. But the offense, at least you can kind of what you're getting with Kirk Cousins. You're going to get a little bit of above average quarterback. You're going to get a quarterback who has the capability to take you to a playoff berth. So and potentially win the division in that weak division. So, yeah, I'm really curious. Look, people are going to say, the money for Kirk Cousins is insane. You got to realize it's just a new market. I mean, it's like the way things are set with new signings and everything. That's just what you're going to get now. To a guy of Kirk Cousins' capability, I mean, at the end of the day, he's a multi-Pro Bowler. He has multiple Pro Bowls. He's made it to the playoffs multiple times. He's experienced. It's just kind of what the going rate is now to get that out of a quarterback. And I mean, it's kind of a fair deal considering how much other guys are making, who've maybe even done less than what he has done. So I think it's just the new reality people live in. And honestly, at the end of the day, why do people care? Like the salary cap went up a bunch. It's not your money. Like there's still plenty of money to be thrown around the rest of the team. Like it's only $45 million a year, considering that the salary cap's almost $300 million. Look, like that's. I don't get why people care so much unless it's truly hindering. As like if it was like the Russell Wilson situation where you're talking about multiple picks, multiple rounds, and like way more than that. Like obviously, you got to do what you got to do. But yeah, but we can switch over to Baker. Hyper focus on that a little bit more. What you're saying, I know you briefly mentioned it.
Because I completely forgot about it. Like I said, it was pretty shocking to me. Like them signing Baker for that long. But again, if you don't think you're going to get another player out there, I guess keep him in that system. If you think that if he's been doing well, I think he did okay. Him signing with the Bucks, I think they've been okay. Not anything spectacular, not anything over the top, but 3 years is like a long time. Especially, I think it's $50 million guaranteed with like maybe 133 in total with incentives or something like that. Shocking to me, Julian. I don't know how you feel about Baker Mayfield going forward. Like, do you think they're going to be competitive?
Look, I mean, if you're the Bucks, what else are you going to do? I think you got a guy who already knows your system. I think Baker played well. Baker played above expectations, honestly. Like, who really had him playing? People thought his career was done when he left Cleveland and he went to L.A. He reinvigorated himself in L.A. He got the deal over the Bucks. What are you going to do? Like, where the Bucks are going to place in the draft, they're not going to be able to really get anybody in the draft. Why bring in do you really want to go after Russell Wilson? Do you really want to go after Kirk Cousins? You have a guy in Baker Mayfield who's a lot younger than them. I think you roll with it. I mean, at the end of the day, Baker did win a playoff game. I mean, I think a lot of people had them potentially go to the NFC Championship game. I mean, it's another one of those where it's like, what else do you do? I don't think he played bad enough to where he's warranted not a starting. I think he's good enough to start in this league. He is. Like, he's just it. I was the biggest Baker Mayfield hater. I know you hated Baker Mayfield every time his commercials came on.
Oh yeah, too many commercials. For the amount of winning, I was like, this is too many commercials. It's like, this guy does nothing.
But you know what? The commercial stopped, and look what happened.
Yeah, look what happened.
But he's not bad. Like, am I saying he's fucking amazing? Is he second coming of Tom Brady? No. But like, is 50 million more than I would have thought? I would have thought he would have made less than Kirk. But obviously, I mean, they think high of him. I don't know how the Buccaneers are doing it, because Buccaneers have a high salary. So I don't know how they're making it work, but they're doing it. So
I'll look at the salaries, because also this comes Mike Evans. They signed a 2-year extension. I think Mike Evans is one of these guys where he's also probably at the tail end of his career. I don't know how much longer. At least for the next 2 years, he signed with the Bucks to do it. I'm just looking up Spot Rack for the signing. So I guess the biggest.
To me, this shows that they think Baker could be good enough to at least go to a Super Bowl. I think it seems like the NFC's weak at the end of the day. NFC is not super strong. And realistically, with the talent on that team, they could. I mean, I didn't think they would. And then, I mean, even last year, I was like, they could beat the Lions. Like, they could. Like, obviously getting through the Niners is a whole other beast. But, like, Green Bay is going to be beatable. Detroit's always going to be beatable. I mean, who else is like stalwarts? I mean, we always say the Cowboys are supposed to do it this year, but like they never do. So it's just one of those, like, I think he might be good enough to at least obviously field a competitive team, but like potentially make an NFC Championship run. It's in the cards, especially if they're not losing anybody.
Yeah. So next year, I'm looking at Spot Rack, the 2025 cap hit. It's going to be Baker Mayfield with the most, almost 40 million cap hit. Mike Evans is going to be second most, 22.3. Vita Vea, 22. Chris Goodwin is going to be 18 million. So they have a lot of tied up. Everything else is defensive line, defensive tackle, cornerback. So yeah, I mean, I think they're keeping the status quo. It looks like they're just keeping the status quo. You know, they signed him for 3 years. They got Mike Evans for 2. So maybe they just like what they see. And you know what? I find going back to Atlanta, I find that weird, because you remember there's a lot of rumors. First of all, I heard rumors of Kirk Cousins looking for houses, which is always weird, because I don't know. You know, when you hear shit on the internet, on Twitter, X, whatever the hell you want to call it, like, you never know what's true, or like, who, you know, who's putting what information out there, and what are they trying to get out of it, right? So I heard a lot of rumors of Kirk Cousins looking for houses in Atlanta. I'm like, okay, whatever. Like, who knows? Maybe it's some realtor. I don't know. So it seems like he got that.
Trying to escape the cold.
Yeah, but also, you know, the rumors of Bill Belichick, the teams that he was choosing, it was between Atlanta, San Diego. I don't know if you heard any other teams that, I mean, obviously didn't go with him. Atlanta stuck with Raheem Morris. I said the last name right. Raheem, Morris.
Is Arthur, what's his name, not there anymore? Arthur Smith? Am I crazy?
No, Raheem Morris is the coach. Remember, they fired. After the season, they fired.
Yeah, you're right.
Raheem Morris is coming in. You know, defensive back coach. Last year, he was a defensive coordinator with the Rams. Defensive coordinator with the Rams. I think Tampa, you know, they're keeping status quo. Like you said, I also don't think they're, you know, that division is for the taking. Right now, you know, again, I'm interested to see what Atlanta does. I think they're the most interesting team in that division. But, you know, we'll see. All right, let's move on. What do you want to finish your thoughts?
I was going to say, I think you're going to see a big jump from Atlanta, I think.
All right, moving on. Other acquisitions. All right, Saquon Barkley comes out that Saquon Barkley reached an agreement with the Eagles, 3-year, $37 million. That could be up to $46 million, with $26 million guaranteed. I think, according to Adam Schefter, he's going to be the second highest paid running back in NFL history. Julian, I'll go to you. What are your thoughts on Saquon Barkley and the signing with the Eagles?
Look, man, when Saquon plays, he's incredible. He plays super well. The problem is he doesn't play that much.
Yeah.
He is constant for a guy who's built like a tank and is a unit. He just gets hurt so often. He's like a shitty like Aston Martin. It's just like it looks nice on the outside, but it runs like shit. Like because it breaks down constantly. And I love Saquon when he's playing. He looks awesome. He's a great player. He's one of the best talents at the running back position, but he's constantly hurt. So like if I'm an Eagles fan, I mean, am I excited to get another weapon? Yeah, but I also don't know how to feel about it because I don't know if this guy's going to be healthy the whole season. I don't know what to expect. And I think the thing with the whole Eagles situation, yeah, he's the second highest paid running back ever. Obviously, maybe if you don't adjust it for inflation, he isn't. But he just seems like kind of one of those acquisitions where if it works and he's able to remain healthy and he's able to be like a Christian McCaffrey 2.0 and completely turn that team around, he's going to make the Eagles unstoppable. He's going to be huge for that team, especially with the offensive line that they have, especially with the weapons that they have on the outside. It's going to give him a lot of freedom to roam that he didn't necessarily have in New York because he was the focal point in New York. So everybody focused on him. So maybe they can help mitigate his workload a lot. So, I mean, we'll see. I'm curious to see how Sirianni is able to work him into that system because I think if you're able to make it work with him, it's going to be insane. To me, it's going to be the exact same way Christian McCaffrey was to the San Francisco 49ers. I think you're going to get that again if he's able to stay healthy. So we shall see. I'm kind of like, for me, I'm kind of up back and forth. I'm not like super pumped, but I'm also like, I don't know. It could be good. I don't know. Like, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I have the same concerns as you were saying earlier. Like, he's great. I mean, obviously, this guy's a squat master. Have you ever seen pictures of his quads? It's like unreal. But yeah, obviously, health has been the biggest concern. I think he was probably the biggest piece, the only, fear, the only weapon that the Giants had. So the fact that, I mean, this goes hand too with, I think Swift was also part of the transition. I don't know if I wrote that down in my notes. DeAndre Swift signing with the Bears, 3 years, $24 million. So obviously Swift leaving the Eagles. Was he with the Eagles or was he with the Lions? No, he was with.
He played for both. He was with the Lions and he went to the Eagles.
Okay, I'm starting to mix shit up. But it's going to be exciting. I think you got Jalen Hurts, you got Devonta Smith, you got you got weapons over there. I think this is a great acquisition. If you want to compete, as we said earlier with the Dallas Cowboys, who their years before have not been the same for the Cowboys, but next year's different for the Cowboys fans. You guys keep hope out there, okay? Say a prayer, eat your vitamins, go to church, spray some sage. Kiss some babies. I don't know. Do whatever you got to do, Cowboys fans. But I think the Eagles. This is going to be like, barring health. I think this should be like a great Eagles team. So, and yeah, I think as long as he stays healthy, I think he'll be productive. Like I think the guy can run. He's a power runner.
So, I'm looking at his stats. He played majority of the season the last 3 seasons.
But the year, yeah, I was gonna say.
So he played 14 games last year.
When did he have the surgery?
He got hurt in 2020, so he only played 2 games in 2020. He played 14 last year. He played 16 in 2022, and then he played 13 in 2021. But he played 13 in 2021, only put up 500 yards. Last season, he played 14 games, only put up 962 yards. So 2022 was that was his best year by far in regards of yards, but his very best year was 2018. He had 11 touchdowns, 1,300 yards, and he was averaging 5 yards a carry. So I don't know. I guess we'll see. I mean, it's another year. I've always had a hard time putting that much money into running backs because running backs is just one of those positions, man. You can always just find a guy. You can always find a guy that's serviceable in the way that the league is. So we'll see, man. I think if he can replicate 2022 Saquon, that's huge. That's huge. But we shall see. I don't think if he gets another 900, 800 yard season, I don't know if he really helps.
I mean,
like, is he providing anything much more than what they were getting with DeAndre
more
Swift
weapons
and Miles Sanders?
More weapons than with the Giants, I think. I mean, more options, to me, that's more opportunity to be productive, right? Because now, if you're the only weapon that a team has, like all the focus is on you. Is like, we stop this guy, then the team can't do anything. But when you have other guys that can run the field, now you have to you have to plan a lot more for contingency. So I think
Yeah, and if you can limit his carries and be able to focus, and you get the most out of, like, say, instead of him running 30 times a game, and you can get him at 15, but they're all highly effective. Look, sometimes it's not always about the stats when you're thinking from a team perspective. So, like, if you can get like 15 like really good Saquon runs in a game, like, if you're an Eagles, like, you gotta, especially when you got AJ Brown and Devonta Smith and that offensive line and like Jalen Hurts, like, dude, like, there's so many ways you can go with that. So I think it's going to help him, but I'm still on the fence of, like, if he's going to be a massive upgrade for them.
Yeah. All right. Other news. T. Higgins. Let's talk about T. Higgins real quick. I believe Higgins came out in news that he's requested a trade. That he loves Cincinnati, but he's looking for a long-term deal, and he's disappointed that there hasn't been any talks since March of last year, since March 2023. There hasn't been any talks about his extension. T. Higgins, do you think he's gonna actually get his request fulfilled, or do you think this is just more agents talking, trying to get a deal done?
I don't know. I really don't know, because I don't know Cincinnati's history when it comes to, like, all this, or even like the general managers, like, that they currently have. I have a feeling they're going to get it done. I think they're going to get it done. I think if you're the Cincinnati front office, you do not want to lose that trifecta that you have in Cincinnati. I think you want to keep as many weapons as you possibly can for Joe Burrow. He's going to be coming off of a big injury that he just suffered this season. You want him to have to go back into the season right where he left off. I think keeping that continuity is so important in this league, and it's not talked about enough. I think if you're Cincinnati, you got to get it done, especially while you still have guys on rookie deals. Like, you still have Joe Burrow on a rookie deal. You still got Jamar Chase on a rookie deal. Lock in T. Higgins, man. Just lock him in. Keep him back. Put the money, push it to the side, run it down the contract down years from now, and then from there you can figure it out. But as of right now, while you still got guys on rookie deals, keep everybody that you can. That's the whole point of taking advantage of this whole rookie situation, is utilize the lack of salary cap hit that they're taking, because you're going to need it. So if I'm Cincinnati, you keep him. Obviously, as a Jaguar fan, look, if you can reunite him with Trevor Lawrence and Travis Etienne and get the boys rolling again, I'm all for it.
Oh my God.
But if you're Cincinnati, I think they're going to re-sign him. I think he deserves it. I think he's played really well. And I think look, as of right now, the only way Cincinnati's competing with anybody is through offense as of right now. And they need to make sure that the offense is still running at, like, all cylinders, because they're going to need it, especially in the AFC. I think they get it done. I don't know when, but I think they do. I'd be shocked if he actually is traded. I would genuinely be shocked if he is traded before draft.
I don't know if he's going to get traded, but I hate, a lot of times when it comes to these NFL trades, a lot of times it's very incestuous. Like, teams will go to other rival teams within the division that you really don't leave and go across, unless there's some big trade that the team actually fulfills. But once they become free agents, they usually go to the other team, and then, now you have a player who knows a playbook that can help your defense. I would hate, the Bengals have to be competitive with the Ravens. Ravens are the big dog in their division, and, how terrible would it be if if the Ravens acquire T. Higgins? It doesn't help that they said that this had a talk since last year, a whole year of non-talk of not getting an extension. Essentially, he is their wide receiver 3, But really, it's wide receiver 2. If you look at, I mean, he's wide receiver 3 in, as far as targets, but as far as production, like he's as equal to Boyd on that after Jamar Chase. So hopefully they get it done.
Yeah, I think they're both twos.
Because if they don't,
twos and Chase is one.
I mean, if they don't, I still like the Bengals going forward, but I think he helps. I think keeping him around will help, especially with the guy who knows the playbook. Like, just make them happy. Like, make the money work while they're cheap, because it's not going to get cheaper.
And realistically, how much could he be commanding? Like, at the end of the day, everybody in the league knows that. I don't know if you think this. I think most people think this. No one really thinks T. Higgins is a number 1. He's a very good number 2 wide receiver. He's one of the best number 2 wide receivers out there. Cincinnati essentially has two number 2 wide receivers and then one number 1, which is Jamar Chase. So, like, he can't be commanding that much to be like, that is maybe $10 million a year. So, just give the man an extension. You can push it down. You know what I mean? But you can put him on a team-friendly deal. You can make it work, and that's why I think it's going to happen for the most part. Look, but I hope Trevor Lawrence and Travis Etienne are dialing them on speed dial, making you say like, "Yo, you should come over to Duval County, bring your talents over here to North Florida."
Again, so 2025, he will be unrestricted free agent. He'll be 26. T. Higgins, unrestricted free agent. Last year he made $21 million, so that's a lot of money. I don't know if they want to spend $21 million, but
a year he made $21 million.
That was his cap hit, yearly cash, 21.8. Was his cap hit last year.
That's actually crazy. I can't imagine making that much. I mean, I can't imagine it being insane. Obviously, when the Jamar Chase comes around, he's going to be demanding a lot, but like, I don't know. I guess we'll see. He almost seems like the type of guy who might take a team-friendly deal. It sounds like he wants to stay in. Well, he's even said, he wants to stay in Cincinnati, so he might be willing to take a semi-team-friendly deal.
Once you get $21 million, I don't think you want to get a pay cut, man. I think you're trying to get paid, man.
Is it a $21 million salary cap hit?
Yeah. So I guess he signed obviously 2020. He had 610 salary, 1 million, 1.3, 2.9. So over 4 seasons, he's made $6 million over 4 seasons.
Yeah.
And last year, yeah.
Well, did they tag him?
No. I'm not. They offered.
Never mind.
Let me see. He was offered a 1 year 20. That's what they was offered a 1 year 21 million tag by Cincinnati.
He's not going to get that again.
He was offered that tag in February 24. So yeah, man. Hopefully they keep him. Hopefully they make the money work, man. I think he's an exciting player. If they do decide to trade him, I think he'll go. You get a little bit back if they decide to actually get his requests. We shall see. All right.
Talk about the most talked about team right now. The most.
What team you want to talk about? Which one? Wait. I don't know which one you're talking about.
You know which one.
I know.
JoJo's favorite player in the world.
Oh my God, we gotta talk about the Broncos. Is that what we're doing? Yo, what is going on in Broncos country? It seems like they're stopping.
I always said
the ride has stopped. The ride has stopped. We have stopped riding.
It's a pony ride now.
I guess obviously we'll talk about JoJo couldn't be here. Obviously he's working, but we'll talk about him as we move forward. But Russell Wilson, the Broncos decide to release Russell Wilson. I think they announced that last week, and it came out today that he will be, or the other day, that he will be signing with the Steelers. I forget the specifics of the deal. What was the deal? What was the specifics? Oh, $38 million, up to $38 million salary for Russell Wilson. And I think it's the only. Oh no, excuse me. That the Broncos will end up paying $38 million of whatever he signs for. I believe that a 1 year deal costing the Broncos $38 million of whatever he signs for.
So basically, the Steelers are getting a free run with them.
Yeah,
essentially, they're basically paying for his salary. So there's just here's your trial. They're paying nothing for this guy.
Yeah, a free trial.
It's a free trial. Then you gotta pay the premium subscription.
You don't have to return it either. You can keep it.
You can keep them. You can cancel anytime. Oh man, But look, man, I've been saying it from the jump. I was the only y'all called me crazy. I was like, look, man, he's done. It's over. They're not keeping him. I said it. I've been saying it all along. You and JoJo are trying to hold off hope for whatever reason. I was like, look, this man, Russell Wilson, he costs way too much. He's worth way too much. They gave up too much. The coach doesn't like him. He's not as good as what he was. And I think I had a feeling Broncos are going to hit reset. I didn't know for sure if they're going to get rid of everybody, just straight fire sale, but I didn't take it out of the cards. I thought for sure Russ was gone. And then maybe they try to bring in another veteran to kind of like hold down the reins. But then another part of me was like, I wouldn't be terribly surprised if they just fire sell everything and just get rid of it. The only thing that made me think that they wouldn't get rid of everybody was because I felt like Sean Payton wasn't necessarily going to be there for the long haul. But if this says anything, this might be that he's planning on being here for the long haul, all barring that he doesn't get fired. It looks like he really wants to build it the way he wants to, because realistically, he was just gifted this team. I think this kind of shows people that maybe he wasn't in it just to get a team that's already a contender. It seems like maybe he did want to start from scratch in a way. It just took him an extra year to do it. But I mean, the writing was on the wall. He was leaving. We could talk about him fitting into Steelers later, but at least from the Broncos perspective of it, it had to be done. Obviously, they're going to take that hit. They're going to pay the $38 million, but it's going to be worth it. Get rid of it. I think this year is going to be a wash for the Broncos. Obviously, get what you can from Justin Simmons. You know, he was an incredible safety, but you got to free up the space. Same thing.
Jerry Jeudy
said right here, 14.5 million. They will save against the cap, getting rid of Simmons. So that's huge. Jerry Jeudy going over
to the Browns.
2 draft picks to the Browns. I think that Russell Wilson trade hurt the Broncos way more than they gained, because not only did they lose players sending him to Seattle, but now you're feeling the after effects of Russell Wilson not working out. So now you're losing even more players. So I think that plays you.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying. Like, that's why I assumed that he was still going to stay with the team, because it's like a sunk cost. It's like, well, fucking, we already spent. You know what I mean? We already put all our cards in. We're all in the house. So I assume. I agree with you with everything you said about Russell Wilson. Yes, he had a terrible first year. He did a little bit better. Not as good as he was. Okay, I agree with all that. But you already invested the money. I think that, obviously, everybody's talking about this probably go down the worst acquisitions, the worst trades in history.
It's gotta be, right?
What they gave away. What they gave away for what they acquired obviously did not match up. I mean, I think most of the time, most trades don't match up equal. But as far as like for a big prime time premier player, MVP type, Super Bowl winner type champion guy, obviously you didn't get the goods. Whatever you acquired, you didn't get the goods. So that's why I thought that they would stick with him, is because they already have a sunk cost. It's like, well, we already fucking got rid of everything. We have nothing else. Like, they already fucking went all in. So you might as well fucking keep riding. Broncos Nation, let's ride. Or Broncos Country, whatever the fuck now. Now it's going to be fucking Steelers Nations, let's smelt, or whatever the fuck they're going to say. I don't know.
Let's smelt. Let's blacksmith.
So yeah.
But you don't think these are after effects with Justin Simmons and Jerry Jeudy? Like, do you think they would still be on the team if they never traded for Russell? Because to me, this screams after effects. To me, this screams, all right, now we have a $38 million cap hit that doesn't even go to our team. So we have to sign players. We got to get rid of some more, because you're not getting rid of the $38 million. That's staying on there. So, but you got to replace Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
So it's like now we actually got to get rid of people who's going to save us cap space. So it's like, man, you're getting getting hit with these after effects too, in my opinion.
I'm just surprised the GM is still there. The GM there, George Patton, has been there since 2021. How does he still have a job? That's what I'm trying to figure out. Like, who made the decision for the trade?
John Elway.
And how do they still have a job? John Elway.
I think John Elway really pushed for that Russell Wilson trade. I think a lot of that's on him. You don't think?
It's insane. I don't know what's going on with the Broncos. It's pretty bad, especially now that they let go of him. It seems like it is a fire sale. Like, they are restarting. So like, I think I asked this question last week to to JoJo. I was like, well, if you what the thing is like, okay, you get rid of a guy, that's cool. Everybody say get rid of him, get rid of him. It's bad. I was like, okay, so what are you gonna replace him with? Like, what are you gonna bring in? Going forward, because we seen all the experiments they had. We seen the Trevor Simeons. We seen who else are the quarterbacks they had before.
You were going to take this hit regardless. He had a 5-year contract. Like, are you going to stick with him for the full 5 year, another 3 years? You got to cut ties immediately because look, all right, Gabe, you hold on to him for one more year. That's another year of delay. You already know Russell Wilson is not going to be good enough for you. Why waste another year? Because you cut him next, say he plays next year, you cut him then, you're still getting hit with that salary cap. You're still getting that salary cap here. You just delayed a whole year of rebuild. You could get rid of everybody now, start this draft, start this free agency, and then you can go into next free agency not having to start. You're getting a year ahead, you know what I mean? That's kind of like my thought process from it, because it's like, I get what you're saying. Who's going to go in there? Well, more than likely, they're not going to want him next year either. So, like, you're going to have the same situation a year from now. You might as well get rid of them and start trying to figure shit out now. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And as it sits, Denver has the 12th pick, apparently, in the draft. We have 45 days to the next draft. So, as we get closer, we'll talk about it. Yeah, what's up?
I think the Browns fleeced the Broncos. A 5th and a 6th. Look, I know Jerry Jeudy hasn't shown a lot.
He improved. Because, I mean, the biggest thing with him...
6,
yeah.
Let's be real. 5th and 6 is fucking nothing. Like, there's like a 20% chance one of those picks actually ends up working out and they become a starter. Like, realistically, there is legitimate 20, maybe less than that. Like, how many 6th and 5th rounders actually end up being big-time contributors to your team? Jerry Jeudy, I think, is good enough to clearly, at least for the Browns, he's good enough to start and be in a starting rotation. Yeah. Maybe not even beast, but he's better to me in a 5th and 6th round pick. And this just screams Broncos just had to get rid of him. They had to get what they can. Like,
and like or not. The biggest thing with Jerry Jeudy, obviously, everybody knew about his speed. I think he was really a high prospect coming out of college. Obviously 2020 he went first round, 15th pick. So obviously it was good. The biggest thing was him with his hands. Like his catching ability was the biggest question. And he had those, for a little bit, especially with his rookie year, he did not live up to the hype. But he has improved. I'll say from last year he had a decent year. Last year, so he has improved. But you are right. I think they got fleeced for a first round pick. They got drafted 24 years ago to get a 5th and a 6th. Like that is not equal. That is not the same.
So this was his stats. He had 54 receptions, 758 yards. Considering the fact that the way they played and the fact that you had Russell Wilson at quarterback, not bad numbers. I think he's a number 2 personally. And then in 2022, he had 67 receptions and 972 yards, so just shy of 1,000. To me, he's a number 2 wide receiver. I think he's a number 2 wide receiver, and he had 6 touchdowns that year, and he had only 2 this year. And considering that he had Russell Wilson throwing him the ball, and then the years before that, he had Drew Lock. So I think he still has he's still 24, man. He's so young. The dude still has potential, and I don't know if he's going to be the guy that we all thought he was going to be out of college, because he was supposed to be. He was a huge. I don't know if you remember. He was a huge prospect coming out of college. He was right up there with CeeDee Lamb. He was supposed to be like the best. It was between him and CeeDee Lamb that were supposed to be like the best wide receivers in that class. And I just think he still has it. I think he can still be good. He's got Deshaun Watson throwing him the ball now, so I don't know how good that's going to go, but we're going to see.
We shall see. All right. Anything else for the Broncos? I think that's it from all the Broncos.
Do you want to talk Russ at Steelers?
Sure. Let's talk about Russ at Steelers. I think the Steelers last year, we want to talk about fraud last year. Some of the biggest frauds. I think they won games, but like they had the most wins like under 10 points or something, like by like one digit leads. They I forget the statistics. I mean, but I think their record, if you look at their record, like, oh, yeah, Steelers are pretty good. They're actually, if you look at their win differential, it's probably not that high. But them acquiring, I think they were for a while. They've been they've had to suffer through your Mason Rudolphs and who was their backup they had there the other
Kenny Pickett. Well, Kenny Pickett was the guy they drafted.
Yeah, that's
and he seems like he just never really panned out. he played 12 games this last season. He played 13 the season before. He was getting benched. He didn't really look that great. I mean, last season, through 12 games, only threw 6 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. He was a guy that a lot of people were excited about over there. He played at Pitt in college, so it was like getting a hometown guy, played at Pitt, and plays for the Steelers. He never lived up to it. He was just a really middling quarterback to the point where they felt that they wanted to put in Trubisky at times. So yeah. I'm not terribly surprised that they're moving on, but I don't know why this. I mean, I guess the Steelers don't want to try again, and based off their positioning, it's hard to figure out what the Steelers are going to do in this QB situation because they're always going to be competitive, and they're never going to be low enough to actually get a high quality quarterback prospect. So they kind of feel this need where they have to resort to getting a veteran. So it's kind of like, because the Steelers obviously don't want to reset. I don't think they necessarily should, but look, I wouldn't be surprised if the Steelers were in that trying to figure it out if they can get Kirk Cousins. I think the Steelers would have been better off with Kirk Cousins than Russell Wilson. Maybe that they couldn't get that deal done, so they went the Russell Wilson route. I mean, I guess the one advantage to the Steelers is like what I said earlier, you're getting a free trial on Russell Wilson. I don't think you're going to get much out of him, to be honest with you. You're going to get probably average quarterback play. And I don't know. I feel like Steelers are going to be in this limbo of not being able to get a high-quality quarterback because they're just not going to be low enough to really draft a top prospect unless they catch some random luck of the draw and a high-round pick.
Yeah, we've talked about, division itself. Obviously, Ravens being the big dog. I think the Browns are going to be competitive. So the Steelers, I think this is a great acquisition for them. I don't know, besides Pickens, the wide receiver Pickens, I don't know what other weapons they plan on acquiring. I think it's pretty whole drum. But as far as overall, like updating,
Johnson.
I think they upgrade. Yeah. That guy's old, man. How many more years do you have in the league?
No, he's 27. He's not old.
Oh man, he's old.
He did fall off. He had a really good 2022.
Man, he gave up. Did you see where they're showing video of him giving up on plays? This man was like walking around. On plays, I think that was not blocking. Come on, man.
They got they just kind of have average wide receivers. Like not average. Like I think they're kind of stuck in this like Deontay Johnson's a number 2. Pickens is like a number 2. They don't really got that Antonio Brown that they once had,
Well, Johnson, he's going to be a free agent in 2025, so he'll be 29. But he's due a base salary $7 million with $5 million signing bonus. So $5 million, almost $6 million of that signing bonus. But base salary is $7 million.
I mean, you think he's going to do good? You think Russ is going to do good there? You think?
I think he'll be all right.
It's going to be the same exact season that Steelers had this year?
I just worry about the weapons around him. I think he'll be all right. I think as far as Russ, he'll be just okay. He's not going to be. That's not MVP type Russ. I think he'll just be fine. I think it's an upgrade. Playoffs? I think it's an upgrade. That I don't think so. Like I said, I think the Ravens and the Browns are way too competitive. I don't think they make the playoffs.
Even in wild card?
I don't think they make the playoffs, but we'll see. That's just me. It's March, okay? We haven't even got to the draft yet.
I'm with you. I don't think I can see them being in the hunt. I don't know if they make it because at the end, I don't think the weapons are terrible. I don't think it's the absolute dog water weapons, but they're not great.
Yeah, Pittsburgh will have
it's gonna be like they're gonna be like that 8-9 win, 7-win team. They're gonna be in that range, just like in the hunt. Maybe if they do squeeze in, they're gonna be that final spot. But they're kind of like they don't really excel in any area. It's like they're just good enough, and so I think it's a slight upgrade. I don't think it's a huge upgrade, and I think they're still gonna struggle. And I think next year comes around, Russell Wilson's probably going to be on another team, and they're going to have to figure things out. I think that I don't think he's going to be good enough to where they're going to, unless it's. I just think Russ is going to want to demand so much.
Yeah,
he's going to want to demand so much, and no one's going to want to pay him that, unless it's like some shitter team with a ton of.
You think he's too toxic, too hot to handle? Nobody wants him.
I think if anybody can handle him, it's going to be Mike Tomlin. But I don't know. he's not going to get the same money. And I don't know. I just have this feeling he's going to want to demand more. And come next year, he's going to probably play the same way he did the past 2 seasons in Denver. And he's going to want this much or however much. And the Steelers going to be like, yeah, you weren't good enough for us. And we're going to move on. And it might be the best for the Steelers, honestly. I think it might be best for the Steelers to move on and try to find the next long-term option. Because even if you, like, Russell Wilson's not a long-term option. He's just not at this point.
Yeah, I wouldn't call him a long-term option, but I mean he's a pretty good option. I'm saying, if you had to tell me to pick between Mason Rudolph and Russell Wilson, give me Wilson.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Give me Wilson. I'm sorry. Rudolph is fine, but that's kind of average to me. But yeah, Russell Wilson to the Steelers. Hooray! I love it. We'll talk.
Next
hopefully,
team.
hopefully we'll talk with JoJo about everything going down with the Broncos. But let's talk about
Russell. He's probably going to buy a Russell Wilson jersey on clearance.
Oh no, I'm trying to think of a joke, but I can't think of one. Speaking of jokes, let's talk about the Jaguars. What a joke of a franchise. I'm just kidding. I'll give you a chance to talk about your team now because you guys are making moves, making money moves, huh? How's that? I guess you can talk about all the transactions that you found interesting, because there is quite a bit that I don't know what you want to start with your Jaguars.
I know this isn't entirely related to Jags, but the Mac Jones thing is very interesting, kind of random. I had a feeling they were done with him. Like the guy he won Rookie of the Year because everybody else was so bad the rookie year. He should have never won Rookie of the Year. He was very like whatever. I was never high on him. All these delusional Patriots fans are saying, "Oh, Mac Jones is going to be amazing," and all this. Like, dude was terrible. Never drafted Alabama quarterback. He's coming over here. I think he's going to be a solid backup. I think the backup situation is probably better than what we had before with C.J. Beathard. I do think it's a little surprising. I don't know if I would have traded for him, but I don't like the idea of trading for backup quarterbacks because I feel like you can get backup quarterbacks in free agency that are serviceable. I don't want to trade for a backup. Like, I don't know. It is a little weird, too, that both these guys were drafted in the same year, 3 years ago?
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I don't like the idea that we traded for him, but whatever. It's a 6th-round pick. Quite honestly, that pick was probably going to be a bust anyways, and it was going to be useless. As for Brandon Sheriff, I don't mind the deal. He was very, very expensive when we brought him in from Washington. And I think him being able to take a friendly deal is going to be good. I think he's a veteran presence. He's good. He hasn't looked good the past 2 seasons he's been here. Honestly, I haven't been a huge fan of him. I thought he hasn't really been what's been advertised. I think he's been all right at times. But, 3 voidable years, $5 million a year. It's not bad. I'll take it. At the end of the day, the offensive line is what's really, really struggling on this team. So they need to retain as much talent as possible. He's a guy that you want to keep, especially at that price. It's not bad. And hey, if it doesn't work out this year, it's a voidable contract every year. You can get rid of him going into next offseason. So not terrible. I think you need the depth because that's what they severely lacked was depth on the offensive line. As for Darnell Savage, don't know much about this guy. Jags did just release Rayshawn Jenkins, a guy who's been serviceable for us. His first year was very lackluster. His second year was improved. He was better, and then this past year he was kind of he's been a guy who's been very inconsistent. Has been super that stalwart that you need in the back. So I'm curious to see how this Darnell Savage guy does. Don't really know much about him. Didn't watch a lot of Packers last year. So I'm hoping he can be an upgrade. From what I'm hearing, people are liking the deal. People are saying that he plays really well. So he might be an upgrade over Rayshawn Jenkins. I'm for it. I'm down trying it out. Now the big one, obviously, Gabe Davis, your brother. 3 years, $39 million contract. Includes $11 million a signing. Everybody was really weird what was going to happen because obviously you had the whole Calvin Ridley situation where Calvin Ridley, if you re-sign him, you're giving up a 2nd-round pick. I was kind of on the board of let's re-sign him. I think Calvin Ridley got too much flack personally from the fan base because I thought he wasn't bad. I thought the system was terrible. The play calling was atrocious. The way that the scheme, the design, everything about it was just bad. It wasn't effective. And for the first like six, and probably more than that, probably first 10 games, they wouldn't even throw the ball past the 10-yard line. Finally, towards the end of the season, they started to stretch the field more. You can tell things started to change, and he started playing better. I think one thing that they did discover is that he's not a number one that they thought he was going to be. Everybody thought, like, because those very productive years in Atlanta, being next to Julio Jones, he's the type of guy who can, when he's by himself, he has the capability to be a number one. I think we kind of discovered this year he's not going to be a number one. He's just a really good number two. And I was kind of on board of like, I'm okay getting rid of a second-round pick if I'm going to get a really good number two wide receiver. You know what I mean? So it's like, because I always say, like, the draft is a crapshoot. You don't know what you're going to get in that second round. But if you're telling me I can guarantee an opportunity to get a really good number two, and then maybe we can test our luck at trying to find a number one in the draft, I would, in the first round, I would do it. But I can see the argument of maybe not wanting to give it up at the same time because the number two is kind of a lot. So it looks like they finally made the decision. They're not going to sign him. They let him walk. Then they bring in Gabe Davis. $11 million at signing. That's great. That shrinks him. That's a super salary cap friendly deal. You now drop that down to $29 million over 3 years. You get him just under $10 million a year, about $10 million a year. Look, with Gabe Davis, I think he's good, but I still believe you just signed another number two wide receiver.
Yeah.
I think they bring different things to the table between Ridley and Gabe Davis. Gabe Davis is obviously a bigger body. He's going to be a more one-on-one target versus Ridley was a more speed guy. He was the more route running guy who's going to break away. So you're kind of getting a different thing. So I think this is going to be more of a scheme fit because you already have Christian Kirk, who's already a number two. He's your locked-in number two guy. So you can't have too many number twos. Then you have Zay Jones, who's like a number 2/number 3. You needed a number one guy, and I guess they just couldn't find it. But at least with Gabe Davis, you're getting something a little different. You're getting a guy who's bigger, can win one-on-one and go down the field and be physical versus having kind of two of the similar guys with Zay Jones and Calvin Ridley, as well as Kirk, who played in the slot. So I think you're just adding a little bit more dynamicness to the team, but I don't know if it's still enough. The team's still lacking a number one guy, a guy who's just going to be straight. And maybe Gabe Davis turns into that, but from everything that I've seen, I don't think he has it in him. I think he's a good player. I think he's a good weapon to have. But to me, it almost feels like a lateral move. But the only reason why it doesn't is because he does something a little different from Calvin Ridley. But
yeah, I would tend to agree with you. I mean, I think Gabe Davis, he's a serviceable NFL, vet. I think I was a little bit higher on Gabe Davis a couple years ago. I'll say like 2-3 years ago, I was higher on him. But I've seen him play, and he kind of disappears. Like he might come, he's like one of these types, like what I think of like MVS on the Chiefs. It's like you might have one big play, like one big splash play, and then you never see him the rest of the game. So, and like what you said about earlier, like, risking trading guys, with the acquisition of Ridley, like you get with the first and second round pick, you hope you get somebody who's NFL ready, that it's not going to take a couple years to develop. Like you hope they're going to be plug and play, and they're going to be a part of your, a part of your scheme, whatever it is, especially offensive players. If you're going to go high with like a wide receiver, you hope like, oh, this guy's NFL ready. He has the body for it. He has the footwear for it. He's going to be plug and play. You don't want to spend time developing a guy, especially when you have this window that you have with T-Law. So Gabe Davis, I think he's a fine NFL player. Like he's not my favorite. Like you said, I tend to agree with you. I don't think he's a wide receiver one, but he's a serviceable NFL player. He a veteran guy, been around for a little bit. So and like you said, I kind of agree with you. If you say it's a lateral move, I kind of agree. I think they went a little high, maybe thought a little bit more of Calvin Ridley than they did. But I think it's more of the same. I think maybe Davis would be a little bit better, but kind of a lateral move, like you said. I tend to agree with you.
For example, if you didn't have to give up that pick to Atlanta to keep Calvin Ridley. I would take Calvin Ridley, and I think most people would. I think what really deterred them away from doing that is that you had to give up that second round to Atlanta because that means you re-signed him because that was a part of the trade structure. I think that was the only thing stopping it, because if you didn't, I mean, I say re-sign him. I mean, like, why not? Like, I don't see why not. But I don't know. We'll see how maybe Gabe Davis turns it up. Maybe I don't know. I think at this point the Jaguars are just looking to become a wide receiver by committee, because I don't know. You're going to have to, because you just don't have that guy, and maybe you don't need it. Because at the end of the day, I do think the wide receiver pool, or just the receiving pool in Jacksonville, is not bad. I mean, you have Evan Ingram, who's one of the best tight ends in the league, who had I think the most receptions for a tight end in this past season. If not, he almost had the record for the most. He almost had the NFL record for the most receptions in an NFL season by a tight end, beating Gronkowski, I believe, or Travis Kelce. One of them two set the record. He almost beat it. And then you're getting Christian Kirk, who's really a solid, very dependable guy. Zay Jones, who can be very well, who could stretch the field, good route runner. And now you're getting Gabe Davis, maybe in a more role where it's not just him and Diggs. People can, like, because I felt like that's kind of like what Buffalo was. It was like him, it was Gabe Davis and Gibbs. So it's like you lock down those two guys. And I think maybe having the different elements of it might free them up a little bit more. But I guess we'll see. I'm still not super high on the offensive staff. I don't know why Doug Peterson wants to keep Press Taylor around, the offensive coordinator, because he's done nothing but show that he's not capable of being one in this league. But yet they keep on bringing him. And that was a big part of the reason of why Doug Peterson left Philadelphia, or they mutually agreed to leave, because Doug Peterson wanted to keep Press Taylor on. And the Philadelphia front office is like, no, this guy's not good enough. And then they leave, they come to Jacksonville, and then you're having the same situation again. How are we going to get rid of everybody, all this other coaching staff, but you're going to keep this guy? Like, come on. Like, what are you doing? Touching his pee-pee? Like, come on. What are you, like, 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 this guy's not good enough. Like, I don't know why he keeps him around. But you get rid of the defensive coordinator who, in my opinion, the defense outperformed than what we expected. So, I don't know. But, yeah. What's the next big signing? Here,
I guess this is within the past couple hours. Devin Duvernay signing 2-year deal with Jacksonville. Now Devin Duvernay, he's going to be 28 years old next. He's going to be 27, 28 years old. Signing a 2-year deal. So obviously he's coming from the Ravens. I don't know how you feel about Devin Duvernay. I think that's going to be actually. We talked about wide receiver one. I think he has the potential for that. I think he's been great with the Ravens. So there's, as far as like wide receiver one, I think that's, upgrade from a Gabe Davis. But the only thing is he's a little bit older, 27, going to be 27, 28, and it's only a 2-year deal. So I guess it's not too much of an investment. I guess if you don't like him, you can get rid of him. Julian, you're looking it up? Or are you trying to look up the contracts?
Yeah, I'm trying to look at everything. Yeah, look, I mean, you're just adding another body. I think you just need. You need competition in that room, and yeah, we'll see. I mean, we'll see how well he plays. I think, look, the more bodies, the better. We'll see how things play out. I'm all for adding a guy with experience who's still young and has the capability to contribute to the team. We'll see how he does. He could be just another one of those guys that just is here, gone after a year or two. We'll see. The good thing is that he's cheap. He's coming in very. What is he? He has like you said, 2-year, $8 million. Only going to be $4 million salary cap hit. I'm all for it. Bring in more bodies. Let them compete. Maybe you find somebody. You know what I mean? Yeah. You never know. So I'm not expecting too much. I wouldn't expect the world. I know sometimes Jaguars fans can expect the world, but look, we'll see as things play out.
Let's go rapid fire, because there's a couple names just hitting you right here. Gardner Minshew, 2-year, $25 million contract with Las Vegas. Are you interested?
A little bit.
Really?
A little bit.
Minshew to the Raiders. You think it's interesting?
I think it's surprising that they brought him in. I'm curious I'm interested in if he's going to be a starter or if he's just going to be a backup.
Yeah, that is the question. All right,
he's
Jonas,
probably the best backup in the league. I'll say that. He's probably the best backup in the league.
Not terrible. I just brought it up because, obviously Gardner Minshew, former former Jag. All right, Jonu Smith, tight end, coming from Atlanta, going to Miami. He's a former FIU grad. Do you find that interesting?
Yes, I like the move. I like more
Really?
weapons to Miami. I think he had going to New England probably wasn't the best thing for him, especially when they signed Hunter Henry as well.
Yeah,
didn't
they sign him around the same. They signed him around the same time.
That
That was like the big acquisition.
Like the same day. So like 2 days. Like people were like, why'd they get two tight ends? I thought he was going to somewhere else. I think going to Miami, being the number one tight end over there, I think it's going to be really good. I think Miami desperately needed a tight end. But yeah, what do you think? Since you're the Dolphins fan.
I'm fine with it. You know, he's coming back home, come back to South Florida. I would have preferred Kyle Pitts. Like I said, we talked about a little bit earlier. Like Kyle Pitts was high.
Getting Kyle Pitts.
No, we ain't getting Kyle Pitts. So I guess we'll take Jonu Smith. You know what? It's fine because at least the guy is coming back home. He knows South Florida.
And he's cheap.
Yeah, he's cheap. All right. Titans are acquiring Tony Pollard from the Cowboys. Former running back, 3 years, $24 million. Do you think they're going to compete against the Jaguars?
No, but I like the move for the Titans. I'm a little surprised, and from Pollard's perspective, I wouldn't have thought that he would want to go to a team like the Titans. But I think it's good to have Will Levis, who showed a little bit of talent this past year, to give him some stability in the backfield now that Derrick Henry's most likely to be gone. So I like it for the Titans. I think it's good. I think he's a good player. I'm a little surprised the Cowboys didn't keep him because he's been super serviceable for them. So I like it.
A lot of rumors. I'm hearing rumors of Derrick Henry to Miami. I don't know how that's going to work out, but I heard Miami mentioning the Derrick Henry rumors. All right, moving on. Chris Wilkinson signs 4-year, $110 million deal for the Raiders. What does that mean for Tua Tagovailoa, Julian?
What does that say for the legacy of Tua Tagovailoa?
I can tell you as a Dolphin fan. I mean, the biggest thing right now is quarterback situation, and because Tua's going to demand a high cost, and I think going into the season, that was the talk of the entire season of what are you going to do with Christian Wilkinson. I think he's been good for us. I think he was a great. I was at first at his draft, I was a little bit worried, but I think he's been great for us. I think losing him is a big loss on the defense. Big physical guy, toughness. He's kind of a funny dude. So seeing him go, he's very likable. So I think this just speaks to there's opening up money for Tua. I think they're going to give Tua a big ass deal. And I just want to bring that the story of Chris Wilson going to the Raiders because I think this means that they're sticking with Tua. Like you get to pick between two pieces or two players, they're sticking with Tua. So that's the only reason why I bring it up.
It sucks to get rid of him because especially
he's good, man.
The defense of Miami was already struggling, and now you're getting out one of their best
top players.
Yeah, like that hurts. We'll see how Jalen Ramsey plays in that, now that he's going to have a full season. So, I don't know. It just sucks to see that it's a team that was already struggling defensively to now lose one of its top players on the defense. It's going to hurt a lot. So I'm curious to see how the Dolphins continue to play throughout this free agency as well as the draft.
All right, Packers release Aaron Jones. They acquired Josh Jacobs. Is this an upgrade?
No. This is a lateral move, and I think
really?
It's just for
Josh Jacobs is good, man. He's been so good to the Raiders for them.
Yeah, but so is Aaron Jones.
I think he's been all right.
I don't know. I think it's a lateral play by Packers. Maybe it's a money play because I know they did sign Aaron Jones to a contract 2 years ago. Maybe that. How it always is with these contracts, that final year's where the most money is. So maybe it's just getting rid of him, release a lot of cap space, and being able to bring Josh Jacobs maybe cheaper on that first year. Obviously, I'm speculating because I don't know the contract details on my head, but from what it seems like, that's what it seems like, personally. Because you're kind of getting the same player in a way.
All right, Bears acquired DeAndre Swift, 3-year, $24 million deal. Are they Super Bowl contenders?
Yes, no, I'm just
You're supposed to laugh. You're supposed to laugh. I'm waiting for the laugh. I'm like,
no, but it is a good move. I mean, hey, look, the more weapons, the better. That Bears team is atrocious, especially offensively. They need any help they can get. DeAndre Swift, he's not the best running back in the league. He's probably not even top 10, but he's a good running back who's going to be productive for you. And yeah, I think like anything to help Justin Fields out is a positive. So
Yeah, all right. I think that's pretty.
with how bad that team is, anything helps, man.
Yeah. I think that's it for the NFL transactions. Obviously, when we're watching, I'm going to be following Shefty and Tom Pelissero and Ian Rappaport and Diana Rossini, all the NFL people. I'll be trying to follow them on Twitter, see what's going on. But let's end it with spring training because obviously spring training has started. Baseball season is here, pitchers and catchers. There is, a couple newsworthy things. I don't know how much do you invest in spring training, like spring training baseball? I know you watch it a little bit, but are you highly invested in it?
I'm always, I mean, this year in particular for the Marlins, I'm really interested to see what the arms look like for me because we have a lot of young guys coming up through the ranks. I'm curious to see how well they play, and apparently there's a few guys that are really standing out because right now the biggest issue when it comes to the Marlins is this bullpen depth. Yeah. And I think that's kind of what I've been looking at, just seeing who's performing well, because I think we're going to get kind of the same what we got with the bats. So I'm what the team needs to improve on heavily is going to be in the bullpen area. So that's kind of what I've been looking at specifically for me. And then I had to see, and I know we're going to talk about it now, is I wanted to see what Shohei Ohtani looks like moving across town, across that county line over to LA. And turns out, man, look at that. First game in spring training hits a dinger. Insane. If that's not foreshadowing, I don't know what is. This guy is going to be an absolute monster for the Dodgers this year. I'm actually really excited to see this Dodgers team play with him. But yeah, man, I mean, what a showcase, first game. Boom.
And I think they announced already that this year he's not going to pitch. Obviously, he undergoing Tommy John. He won't be pitching at all. He won't be throwing at all this year, but he will be their DH. So he will be hitting offensive only. So, I don't plan to see him, playing at all.
It does suck.
Yeah.
It does suck.
Yeah, but you know what? That's I guess that's the curse you have when you have multi-talent. When you can pitch and you can hit, the curse is you.
Let me ask you something. Hit. Yeah, at least you can use them, I guess. At least it's not a waste. I was going to add, I don't know how much you know about Tommy John, but it almost seems like it's like a rite of passage as a pitcher that you
as a pitcher
over time you have to do it. And I'm not sure do you know like what exactly it is and why they have to do it?
Well, a lot of times there's a tear. I think it's the ulnar collateral. It's like the median on the inside. So a lot of times when you throw curves, there's a lot of pressure, not just fastballs, but just throwing curves, throwing different pitches. The angle of it affects. Obviously, if you don't know anatomy, the shoulder is the most unstable, compared to your hips, right? If you have to compare your shoulders to your hips, shoulders completely.
For the audience listener, Gabe's a certified chiropractor, so he's basically a doctor.
So the shoulder is completely unstable, and, these guys violently throwing 100 miles an hour, obviously it's going to cause tears. But in itself, a lot of players do go through surgery. They're complaining. I want to look up the statistics. I don't know the statistics behind this, but they're saying a lot of kids are younger and younger ages are getting Tommy John surgery. And it's like, oh, once you get the surgery, that's it. You'll never need it again, which is not true because this is. I
was going to ask you that.
Yeah,
if they need it again.
This is, I believe, his second surgery. I believe this is. Ohtani's second surgery that he's getting.
Do you know what they do exactly that's supposedly supposed to prevent it from happening again?
So they take a tendon. Usually they take it from somewhere else in the body and they'll stick it in there because obviously if it's torn, it's torn. Either they can repair what they have, but usually what they do is a complete.
It's going to break again.
Yeah. A complete replacement, and which is usually about 6 months recovery from surgery and another 6 months, 8 months to your back. If you want to be MLB
full speed again,
MLB level. So that's why they already announced he had the surgery. I think over the summer, maybe a couple of months ago, and so he's announced for the entire year he's not going to pitch, which is fine. And
the hitting doesn't affect it at all.
No, because that's more Tommy John. Depending on where the tear is, Depending on where the tear is, it shouldn't affect his hitting because hitting is not as
strenuous.
Yeah, as pitching. Pitching is very violent. Remember, you're kind of whipping the ball.
You're doing it like 90 times.
Yeah. And you see a guy pitch 100. They do a pitch count as 100, but they don't count as him pitching in between innings, him pitching before the game. The amount of pitches.
So what? What tendon do they normally take? I feel
usually UCL, so the ulnar collateral.
Is that in your elbow as well?
Yeah.
Like get another.
You have your radius and your ulna. So radius is your thumb, wherever your radius. That's on the inside, or that's lateral. And your ulna that's on the inside.
Okay, so they take from there, move it over there, and that's supposed to be stronger, I guess.
I'm not a surgeon, so I can't tell you specifically about what's supposed to be strong or whatever. I know statistically, usually the guys that come back from it, it's able to hold. But if you're getting it at a young age, that can be due to improper form, maybe just pitching too much. Maybe kids, that we've talked about in other sports how kids.
Yeah, basketball.
If all you do is baseball, if all you're doing is pitching year round, you're not doing anything else. How it's probably not good for your sport because you try to teach bilateral, like being equal on both sides. I don't know whether you're dribbling, being able to dribble on your left, dribble on your right, spin move. Being bilateral both sides because once you become one-sided, like you saw the other guy, this guy jumping up. Who was the pitcher from the Mets? Jumped up and down. He fell. He tore his whole leg before. Wasn't that during the I want to say FIFA, but it's not FIFA. Not FIBA either. The baseball classic.
That's happened in soccer though. But
yes. So yeah, I think he'll be fine for the rest of the year as long as he doesn't get hit in the head with the baseball or something. I think.
Oh, you're talking about what happened in the World Baseball Classic.
Yeah,
last
who was
year.
that Mets pitcher?
Exactly. Yeah, it was the Puerto Rican player.
He was jumping up and down.
Yeah, I drawn a blank on the name, but I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah, it was Puerto Rico, I believe, right?
The Mets Diaz, Edwin Diaz.
Yeah.
Celebrating after the game. He won the game already. He celebrated. Tore his all shit. So yeah, he should be fine. Going forward, I think I think the biggest acquisitions they have as far as pitching, they have Glasnow, they have Yamamoto, and the Dodgers. I mean, if you look at the Dodgers,
supposed to be a stud coming out of the Japanese league. He's supposed to be really good. What a lot of people are saying from how he played last year in the Japanese league. So curious to see. The Dodgers are just, to me, are really interesting right now.
No, they're the Yankees of the West, bro. They got Will Smith, Freddie Freeman, Max Muncy, Mookie Betts. I mean, Jason Hayward, who's a really good serviceable player, and Ohtani hitting for him. Like, it's going to be crazy. No, I think did Kershaw?
Oh, you're talking about the bat. You're talking about the bat.
Yeah. Yeah. Did Kershaw? Where is Kershaw?
No, Kershaw's still with LA. You didn't move. You're making me question it now.
How come I don't see him?
Yeah, he's with the Dodgers. I don't know why you're saying he's not. But he is on, he's injured at the moment, though.
Okay, that's probably why I have him off. Cause I remember him playing in the playoffs. I just don't remember why I didn't see him.
Oh, wait a second. Actually, 1 week ago. Oh, never mind. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, he's just on the injury list. He's on the injury list for 60 days, which, I mean.
Yeah, he did re-sign his contract. So he did re-sign his contract in February. But I just didn't see him on the list. But yeah, I think, man, the Dodgers are going to be really good. And Ohtani's my favorite player, so him doing anything is going to be the greatest in my eyes. So
yeah, it sucks to not see him pitch, but hey, I mean, it's 1 year out of the however long he's going to end up being there. So
yeah, hopefully they have that backlog contract. They're going to give him $1 and a McDonald's value meal for the next 5 years until the money actually rolls in.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think he'll be fine, man. It's going to be great watching the Dodgers. Yeah. All right, I think that'll do it, man. Spring baseball. Yep. We'll end it right there. I mean, we'll come back next week. There'll be more NFL transactions. Hopefully, we'll have Jojo on here. We'll talk NBA stuff. Room for
March Madness.
We'll talk about Jimmy Butler's new album. His dealings with Jimmy Eat World or whatever, Fallout Boy, whatever the fuck it is. I'm just joking. I'm just bullshitting. But yeah, we'll be here next week. We appreciate Julian. You say the numbers doing pretty good.
Yeah, we're doing good, guys. I want to appreciate all the new support. I'm glad you guys are loving the interesting fact things. The one that did best was the Super Bowl ticket prices. That got over 7,000 views, so that's awesome to see. So yeah, I want to thank all the new subscribers we've been getting. We're slowly chugging along, doing really well. It's our best week in a while, so I'm excited. We're not able to do any cool little interesting facts today because we didn't have the time to come up with them and find them. But rest assured, we will have them next week, and we'll start pumping it out to inform you guys on the most useless sports stats that you'll never use again in your life.
So, yeah. Just want to say thank you. We appreciate it. Hopefully we'll have JoJo on next week. We'll talk more about his Broncos and NBA stuff and MLB stuff. But we appreciate y'all. Thank y'all. Real Fans Podcast on all the things. Thank you for liking and subscribing. We'll see you here next week. Peace.
Peace out, everybody.